Okay, back to the Darlie case. I want to go over the mulch and the window. Had a discussion with a lovely Darlie supporter who knows a whole lot about the case, according to Rich Prater. Yesterday on my live, you could see that discussion where she wanted to argue with me about the mulch near the window. What Greg Davis said on one of the shows, it's on my video, he never said there was mulch directly under the window. What he said was, and if you listen right, you have to listen. What he said was, as soon as when you step out that window, you immediately come to a patch of mulch. Immediately meaning 2 steps. It looks like maybe a foot. He said you immediately come to a patch of mulch. Here's a view of that mulch right here. First I was told there wasn't any mulch there. Then this supporter, this lovely supporter who's a friend of Darlie Keys, said, "There's a seed man under that window." I said, "I know." I said, "He never said it was directly under the window. He never said that." As I'm editing, I wanted to go through this really quick too. Darlie Routier did a video, and so did their friend Reagan, the preacher that went through the Routier house, and I'll put that up too, where he went in and out of that window easily, because we were saying, well, how come there were no threads or no dirt from the outside or none of that from an intruder coming in and out of it? And he's like, well, because you step in and out of it really easily. But one thing that we didn't notice was that that window was down about to here. The whole screen is gone. The whole bottom window is gone when Darren's doing this.
They say a stranger slipped into the home through a garage window.
He came into this house,
Now,
his children, and tried to kill dogs.
now let me go back to this. Notice he's taking the screen completely off, but that bottom window is gone, and you can kind of see where the mulch begins, right here. But he did the same thing. He stepped through it.
He came into this house, slaughtered.
But he took the screen completely off. Why would he do that? That's not what he said. You can see another view of that right here. Now, her contention was, well, he'd run down this sidewalk right here to get to the gate. But the problem with that was the Routiers had motion detectors in their backyard. And when the police went out there to check it, they didn't walk through the mulch. They walked down the cement. And the motion detector's lights came on and stayed on for 18 minutes. And she goes, oh yeah, they were dancing around back there. They didn't have to dance around. All you gotta do is go down this path here. That's all you would have to do is go down this path. I encourage that Darlie Routier supporter to comment under this. All right? She said, "Oh, the police had to dance around." No, they didn't. If you went along the edge here into the mulch to that gate right there, you didn't set the lights off. That would be the only way that an intruder coming out of this window, if he went down the sidewalk, those lights would have came on. And they didn't. They weren't on. The police were there within a minute and a half after Darlie called. She said some man ran out in the garage, but there were no lights on back there. Again, here's the mulch. Those are for those who were watching that lovely shit show we had last night. You know, because this supporter, she comes on Rich's chat, and oh yeah, you got to go over and look at her. She really knows this case, and blah, 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 blah. She's really good at it. You have to be almost dense in my opinion, to be a Darlie Routier supporter. So when all you have to do is simply look at the facts and use your common sense. Now, let's go into some of the testimony about the mulch. Now, they give Cron a lot of crap, the supporters do, because his testimony was very damaging to Darlie's defense. I can tell you that he had been in law enforcement. He was a turnkey at the Dallas jail when Lee Harvey Oswald was there back in '63. He went into CSI. He had seen 4,000 crime scenes with bodies before he went to the Routier house. After the crime, he teamed up with Officer David Neighbors, who was the photographer at the Darlie Routier crime scene, and they started their own CSI company. But here we go through. Let me just read this off. There is a concrete walk from the alleged exit window to the gate. However, there is also a mulched area running alongside the walkway up against the house. It was this mulched area that James Cron paid particular attention to because it had not been disturbed in any way, even though it was the shortest path from the window to the gate. Greg Davis asks, if we look at State's Exhibits 13A and 13B, do we see an area of mulch there? Cron says, this is direct testimony. Yes, I was looking for any dampness or any signs that feet were dragged through the area or fast movement through the mulch. I tested it two ways. One, I walked flat-footed very gently across the mulch and nothing happened. I then walked very fast and then ran across the mulch, and I did disturb it. From running through it, he disturbed the mulch. You can see, because mulch will turn a different color when you flip it when it's wet. It'll turn a different color. That's what he was talking about. I then walked very fast and then ran across the mulch, and I did disturb it. The upper layer was then exposed and was darker than the top, and it became evident. Then I bent down and took my hand and just ruffled up the mulch, and it appeared dark whenever I did disturb it. You can find this in trial testimony. On cross, Doug Mulder, Darlie's attorney, attempted to distort Cron's words. Mulder, you made a big to-do about the mulch, is that right? Cron, yes, I mentioned the mulch. Mulder, when you walked through it, were you able to look at it and tell that you had walked through it? Cron, no, I couldn't tell that. I did. It was Mulder. Well, if you couldn't tell that you'd walked through it, how can you tell if an intruder had walked through it? Cron, well, because I didn't say an intruder had walked through it. I said an intruder didn't run through it and disturb it. Common sense would tell you that he's not just going to walk. You know, Darlie's behind him. He's dropped his weapon. She's screaming. That's just common sense. He's not going to calmly walk to the gate. It's common sense. Mulder. Why would an intruder run through the mulch when he could stay on the sidewalk and the sidewalk goes right to the gate? Cron. Well, he would have had to gone 12 inches out of his way to go to the sidewalk. It's 12 inches shorter to go through the mulch. Just common sense. The conclusion is, at no time did James Cron ever say that there was mulch under the exit window. His testimony, as well as the above photos, were shown to the jury, made it abundantly clear that the mulch was immediately to the right of the alleged exit window. That mulch was undisturbed, and even though it was the quickest route to the gate for the intruder fleeing a murder scene, Those facts are undisputed. It was no honest mistake on Darlie's part. It was a deliberate misstatement of Jim Cron's testimony. A misstatement that has been repeated by supporters countless times over the years. Why has this falsehood endured so long? Well, if we're to believe Darlie's story, an intruder had just murdered 2 little boys, has left a living witness who can scream for help and possibly identify him, has armed that living witness with a butcher knife, exit the garage window, and carefully walks through that mulch to reach gate 2, the gate, or goes through 12 inches out of his way to stay on a curving concrete path. Unless the intruder has a death wish, he's not going to do either. And that is why James Cron's testimony has been twisted into something that it never was. And again, I stress the motion detector lights. We'll get into that later. So, during testimony, he never said it was directly under there. Now, here is a picture of the security lights that were up in June 6, 1996. This is Darlie's spa that was in their backyard. She had a $9,000 spa. She would go out there and lounge around. But these are the security lights right there that they're talking about. Okay? And if the only way to not trigger those security lights, according to testimony, was to go along that mulch that's in the backyard. Because if you came right down the sidewalk, they went off. And they stayed on for 18 minutes, according to testimony in the case. And then you have State's Exhibit 13D, which is a picture of what it looked like. The spa. This goes directly up to the window. The only way to not set off those lights is to go through this right here. And Darlie's own statement was that it was dark. The only light was the TV until she turned the light on. Now, one may question this about the sock. This is why I believe that she went out the front door to take that sock down the alley. Because she would have set off the motion detector lights herself. This is why I also believe that she cut the screen from the outside by going out the sliding glass doors and walking along the edge to the window and cutting that screen from the outside, then going back in. She could have done that, slipped right in there easy. It's very important, according to Donnell recently, to read the trial transcripts. Donnell posted that herself. Read the trial transcripts. Read the trial transcripts. Previously, they were saying, that they were all messed up and everything else, and don't read them and they weren't any good. But now they're a little bit harder to find online. So Donnell, who's telling everybody her sister is innocent, says, read the transcripts, read the transcripts, read the transcripts. You kind of have to know the name of the person that you want the... You can't just go and look at all the transcripts all in one anymore. You have to know the names of the players in the case to get to certain parts. Right now I'm at David Waddell's. I'm rereading everything again. Because if I'm going to be out here saying that this woman is guilty and that she deserves to die on Texas death row, I want to have my ducks in a row. I don't want to kill an innocent woman on death row. And so I'm going to go over it and over it and over it. And I just love to argue with Darlie supporters because they make me stronger in the case. That's why they don't come to my comment section. That's why they won't go. I'd love to do a live with just me and Rich. We can put aside all the bullshit, just me and Rich on my panel. I would love to do a live like that, or with me and Sully, or with me and Kathy Ramsey. They will not do that. They know better, because I will own them in this case because I do my research. And I was encouraged to do my research as a supporter for Darlie Routier by Pamela Lakes Collins, Christine Foger, Mary Moody, all these women that told me that I was getting it wrong. And she's not innocent. She's not innocent. I didn't want to hear that from them. I even told them, If you say Darlie's guilty one more time, I'll kick you out of my free Darlie group. And she did not give up. So what Pam did was made me dig. What Christy did was made me dig at the case. And if I get stuck on something today, I will refer to them because Pam has got every document on it. Christy knows this case back and forth, and so does Mary Moody. So I've got backup. They'll show me where to look. They won't just tell me, or they'll post the court statement, or they'll show me. They make me do the work, and I appreciate them for that because they definitely rescued me from a land of illusion as a Darlie Routier supporter. Because I honestly thought that Darren, with his mush fake 2002 affidavit about how he asked multiple people to break into his home, I honestly thought that one of those people came in there and killed them. But we have to notice, and I'll stress this, we have to notice that the family goes after any one of us non-supporters who puts out facts about this case. They'll go after us to say that we're harassing them and we're stalking them and we won't leave them alone and blah, blah, blah. But they never fucking once demand that Darren named those multiple people. Why do they do that? Because they know it's a lie. They know it. That's where they should be at. That's where I would be at. If it was my family member, I'd say, motherfucker, you better tell now. You better tell now. Who are those people? So they can go question them. Because a lot of times when criminal cases are solved, it's because somebody talks. They've never, ever, one time demanded that Darren ask those multiple people. Never. That's a big tell to me, and it should be a big tell to anyone else. Soon I'll be getting into David Waddell's testimony. Thanks for watching, and remember, justice for Devin and Damon Routier.